G'day folks, Thunder here and welcome back. Recently I've uploaded a few different video tutorials and guides to help you navigate your way around the verse inside the game. Today I'm going to show you something a little different. I'm going to show you some things outside of the game that can help you in the game. So to start off with, I want to just say that all of these websites that I'm about to show you, I have no affiliation or sponsorship or anything like that with these. I've got nothing to do with them other than me personally using them and liking them as a user. So now that that's out of the way, I'll show you what the first one is. So the first website is called Hangar. Now this is exactly as it says. It links to your Hangar. It does require an extension for either Chrome, Firefox, or Edge, depending on which browser you're using. And it uses the cache of the account that you're logged into to retrieve the information from your Hangar. It doesn't look at any credentials. It doesn't store any data anywhere. It just reads the cache from the browser of what you've seen and what you have in your Hangar on your RSI site, as well as the buyback. So I'll show you how we set this up. Up the top here, it says that we need to upgrade to the latest version of Firefox, Chrome, Edge, and install the Hangar Link Connect to retrieve your pledge data. I'm currently using Edge, and if you were to go and look at the Edge extensions, you won't find it. So if you go to Google and just type in Hangar Link Connect, the first result is the Google Chrome version of the extension. And if we open that up, it'll bring up a pop-up saying that it works with Microsoft Edge. So we click on Get Extension. It'll add a pop-up and you say Add Extension. So see that. And then that has now been added to my Edge. Now, if I head back over to the Hangar Link website and just do a refresh, we can see that it has detected version 1.5 and it's already authenticated my RSI account, Thunderbolt. That is purely because I have logged into my Thunderbolts account recently. I actually have it open in another tab at the moment, so it can see that. As I said, it's not reading any credentials or anything like that. It's just purely grabbing the data from the cache. So what does this site do? You've got the Hangar Link, which is where you can see everything. And then you've got the Star Jump Fleet Viewer, which is where you can have a nice, pretty display of your fleet, which is what you've probably seen in a lot of Discord channels and on YouTube, and what I've also posted on YouTube to say, this is my fleet. These are all my ships that I have. Okay, and that's where we can do that. We can actually import that from our Hangar Link. So let's jump into Hangar Link first. And the first thing you'll need to do is retrieve the data from your RSI account, which is this green button up the top. Now, depending on how many pledges and how much crap you've got in your account or what you've got in your buyback, depends on how long it's going to take. So basically, it scans all of the pages of your Hangar and your buybacks and puts it in a nice little table that you can sort and filter and display and export in a really nice, legible, single screen, scrollable fashion, rather than having to go through, as my account has, about 30 odd pages of stuff, which goes back to 2013, where I've got all of the milestone rewards and original and veteran backer rewards and things like that. So here we go. It's all loaded up. Didn't take too long at all. You can see I've got a load of stuff in my Hangar. And there we go. So we've gotten to the bottom. So one of the really great things that's useful with this is, let's say, for example, that a new paint scheme has come out, or you think it's a new paint scheme. Looking at the Stellar Fortuna event that we've just had with the green paint jobs, they re-released the Redeemer green paint job. So let's just have a look to see what I've got. Ah, yes, I do have the Redeemer Fortuna paint. I've also got the Vanguard Fortuna paint. So I don't need to buy those if I wasn't sure. I don't need to go scrolling through all of my pages to have a look to see if I've got it. I can just do a search. That's great. And if you hover over it, the Redeemer paint is on page 13 of 10. I think what that is it's page 13 when there's 10 for every page. I think that's what it is. If we look at the Vanguard one, it's on page 6. So I don't have to go scrolling through 13 pages to find my Redeemer paint and potentially miss it because I haven't looked at it. I can just do a search. So let's clear that out of our search. What you can also do is if you've got multiple accounts, you can also go and log into that account on the RSI website, recheck with this button over here, and it will then go, oh, hang on, I found another account with RSI. It will then say authenticated on RSI as Thunderbolts 2, for example. And then under the Hangars section, you can select which hanger you're using, Thunderbolts or Thunderbolts 2. You can also filter it by certain types, so whether it's an upgrade or a CCU, a ship, a package, or other, which is everything else. Subscriber flares, paint, clothing, gear, armor sets, all that sort of stuff. So, upgrades, we can have a look at that. So looking at my ships that I have, and now these are standalone ships. When we're talking about the types filter, they are standalone ships only. And it shows that I've got a few giftable ones. Some of them are meltable, some of them are not. So my VIP Wing Commander F8C is not meltable, but it is LTI. And it's got a value of 0 and a cost of 0 because it was free. I've got a Kruger P72 Archimedes Emerald LTI. That is now a Pirate Caterpillar. It's meltable but not giftable because I was gifted it. And it also has LTI. So far, everything that I have has LTI. The next filter that we have is packs, which are your ship packages or not even game packages, but multi-ship packs. So, for example, I have the Cutter Trips pack. Under Other is everything else. You can then have a look at CCU upgrades in your hangar. So this is a more detailed version of looking in your pledges at the filter type of upgrade. So that just tells us that it's an upgrade, Freelancer, Dirter, Ballista, it's meltable. I've got one of them and it cost me $5. Okay. When we look at the upgrades, it gives us a bigger breakdown. So a Hull C to an A2 Hercules was from $500 to $750 with a value of $250. I spent $250. I paid full price for that one. And I saved nothing. Whereas the Constellation Taurus to Corsair was a $200 ship, valued to a $250 ship. Its value is $50. I paid $30, so I saved $20. So I've got a couple of upgrades there where I've bought the War Bond version of them. Other ones I've just used store credit that I had and just gone, I don't care, I'm just going to buy from this to that. If, for example, this top one here, the Hull C to the A2, if something in between that becomes on special for War Bond, then I may melt this one, buy a cheap War Bond, and then get the ones either side of it to make up the rest. And that may give me a bit of savings. But for now, I don't care. I just want to get the A2 instead of the Hull C in the Praetorian pack. Okay, the next tab that we have over here is our ships in our hangar. So this includes all packs, all standalones, anything that's got a ship in it or a vehicle will show up on here. And this just shows us which hangar it's in. So on my main Thunderbolts account, the manufacturer, the ship name, whether it's got a custom name. So if you've got a name reservation for a Reclaimer or a 600i, things like that, 890 jump, then you will see the custom name in there as well. Whether it's giftable or not, whether it's meltable or not, what insurance level it has, whether it came with UEC. So my Shulin was a game package that came with 1000 UAC. Same with the Aurora LX that came with 1000 UAC. And then it's got the cost over on the side here as to what the cost is. So the 3 cutters that are in the Trips pack cost me $100 for the Trips pack. It's just averaged them all out, and you can actually see that it says that it's averaged there. Other things that we can do in HangarLink is have a look at prices. So this will list every ship and vehicle in the game and how much it costs on the pledge store, what the value of it is. Okay, all the way from a Aurora ES at $20 down to a Javelin at $3,000. Okay, next thing we're going to have a look at is we can import and export files. So the main thing that I use this for is to export the JSON file for the Fleet Viewer. But at the same time, we don't need to export it because we can actually just pull that across, and I will show you that shortly. But if you had any other sites that you wanted to import a JSON file to, or you wanted to import a JSON file from, you can do that as well. We'll skip over the pledges because we've already done that, and we'll have a look at our buybacks. So now we can see exactly what we've got in our buybacks. All of the gear and ships that we've melted along the way, they're all there. And you can search for it and see whether you've got it in your buyback and whether you need to repurchase it from the store, or if you can just buy it back from your buyback. Obviously, if you're buying it back from your buyback, you need to use fresh money unless you've got a buyback token to use store credits. Or if it's available on the store, you can then just buy it with store credits. You can also search this to see what you've got. So if I wanted to see what sort of paints I've got in my buyback, I can search for paint and see all of the paints that I've got in my buyback. And I've obviously got multiples of things as well. So I have 4 Greycat Quicksilver paint and armor kit. The reason I've got a few of those is that if I lose them out in the verse, someone kills me, I'm wearing a set of armor. If it's currently available on the RSI site, I'll melt the one that I have and use that money to purchase a new one. Then I can go back to my home port and grab it again. Easy. So there's a little trick you can do. The next tab we've got is the CCU chains, so you can do a from ship. So if we want to go from an Aurora LX, which we have in our hangar, to an A2, which I do have an A2 upgrade in my hangar. This only looks at the upgrade tokens that you have in your hangar and tells you what you need to purchase from the store to make up the gaps. This doesn't tell you how to maximize the savings between what you've got in your hangar and what you could potentially get. That is where the other site that I will go into on another video does that for you. So in this instance, we'll just calculate it. I'll show you quickly how it comes up. It shows me that I need to purchase something from the store first to get from my Aurora LX to something else. Now I can go from an Aurora LX to a Yellow Jacket because I have a Yellow Jacket to a Mule in my hangar. So I could select that one if I want. Then I need to purchase from the store an upgrade from the Mule to something else. And as you can see, I've got multiple of the something else type upgrades. But what you want to look at here is anything that's got a savings on it. So either of these, obviously so either of these 2 Mule to Titans, if I purchase those, I've got a Titan to Freelancer and a Titan to Rock DS. Either of those will save me $5 at this stage. And if I take either of those steps, the maximum savings I could get with the tokens that I have and the CCUs that I buy in-game is $50. Okay, so I think you get the gist of what this is going to do. It's basically just, as I said, it's picking out the upgrade tokens that you've got in your hangar and telling you what you need to buy from the store. But at the same time, it does show you what savings you can potentially get with those upgrades. As I mentioned earlier, it is not a tool that is going to offer you the ability to see the maximum savings you could possibly get from the very initial starter ship up to the final ship that you want to get and in between. It's not maximizing your savings. It's just showing you what you can use within your hangar and what you need to get from A to B with what you have and what you don't have. Next up, we've got the Fleet Viewer. So this is where we can see a nice visual of the ships that we have in our hangar. We don't need to look at the tutorial, because I'm going to show you how to do it now. We just go straight to Let's Go. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Canvas settings. And here I'm going to change it to HD imaging. I'm going to add the isometric shadowing, so isometric and top view. So this is isometric and that is top view. You've then got your profile of your ship and the front ship view looking down. I like the isometric view myself, so I'm going to add shadows as well. We can rotate the ship to face different directions if we want to, but I'm going to leave it as the standard. You can also position the label either above, below, to the left or to the right of the picture, and also positioning the text. I also like to make the text a bit bigger because I'm getting old and my eyes are getting bad. And you can change it to either a solid color background, the Star Jump Spacescape, or Star Jump Grid, which is the Spacescape with a grid. I just like the standard Spacescape. And then we'll close that and that'll save that. Then we can come across and just go add hangar ships. We can then scroll out because we're zoomed in quite a bit, and there are all of the ships that I have from my hangar. If we then unlock the canvas so that we can click on each ship, it doesn't look like it's actually importing them with those HD settings. So we can go back in and change them all to HD. And after you do a few of those, it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? So let's go through. Do it. You can move everything around that you want to move around and sort of spread them out. You can put all of your fighters together. You can put all of your mining equipment together. We can put our 3 cutters over here. Maybe we can leave put the Aurora with those because just the little ship there. We can bring the Shulin down here. The Spirit is a transporter, so let's stick that over there with the hull E. Explorer. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with them. You can change the color of the text. You can change the size of the text. You can change the text itself. So if you want to get rid of the meters, or you want to put LTI on there just to show everybody that it's LTI, whatever you want, you can put in there. My favorite. Yep. My keyboard doesn't know how to press a B. Okay. So then what you can do is you can also recenter the view. You can save that to a file if you wanted to then upload that back in again later with that positioning. Because if you go back and add your hangar ships again later, it's going to automatically pull them in that default automatic layout that they had originally. So what I would just do now is I would then just go and generate an image, and that will bring up a prompt to save the file. You save the file to wherever you want to save it on your computer, and then you can go and share that around your Discord communities or wherever you like. That's how people, or that's one way how people get their nice photos or pictures of their fleets to show everybody. If you wanted to do it manually, you can. All you have to do up the top here is add a ship or item. So let's go and search for a, let's search for the Endeavour. Okay, so by default, we've got a couple of different Endeavours that are listed here. So there's the Endeavour Discovery, Hope, Olympic, Super Collider, and Telescope. Now, what about the Master Set? I have one in my buyback, and I want to show that off. I have in my other ones. So what you need to do is untick official only, even though it is official. We can then see the Master Set is now here, and we can bring that in. And here is our warning saying that, hey, we've got a few ships on your canvas. Do you want to change the resolution down to low definition to help Fleet Viewer remain performant? And you just go, no, my computer is beastie. Shut up, leave me alone. And there we go. So we can now put our Odyssey and our Master Set together, and let's throw them all over there. We then move off of that ship. We can click in a blank space to bring us back to our main menu, and then we can save the file or generate the image again with our master set. There's a couple of other different options that you can do in here. You can add just plain old text, which is tiny to start with, and you can make that bigger and then change that. Yeah, Thunderballs. Hang on. There. Hang on. And I can make that yellow. And yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. So that is the Hangar Link website, the Hangar Link itself, as well as the Fleet Viewer. So the next website I'd like to show you is one that will help you in-game with your ship loadouts. You can actually load up this website, bring up a template of the ship that you want to do a loadout for, and it will show you what comes as a default. And you can select those components and change it to the ones that you would prefer. And it gives you a lot of information about those components, both the original and the new ones. You can pick and choose depending on what type of weapons or playstyle or the purpose of the ship might be. So let's jump over to that website now. It is called Urkel Games. Now here we have a Corsair, and it is stock standard. This is what you would get as soon as you open up your Corsair loadout if you just received one. It comes with a bunch of M6A laser cannons and a couple of M5A laser cannons, as well as some badges on a remote turret and man turrets. The standard shields are the 5CA Acurers. Standard power plants are the Daybreaks, coolers, Froststar EX, and the quantum drive is a Torrent. We have a bunch of thrusters that we cannot change. If it's got a padlock on here, you cannot change it. So, for example, our manned turret, we cannot change this from a manned turret. However, we can change the gun that is attached to that turret. All you have to do is click on the component. So let's say we wanted to outfit this Corsair with a bunch of Gatling guns. Okay, so this manned turret is a size 2 man turret, or it's a size 1 man turret, but can hold size 2 weapons. So what we can do is we can sort it by type, and we can go down and have a look at all of the Gatlings. Which is only one size 2 Gatling, and that's the GT215. So we will select that there. We'll also go and select the GT215 here and here. And then what we have is we've got the M5As and the M6As. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this, taking in mind that the gimbals and the varipucks and things like that are going to be gone, I'm going to base it off of this being a size 4 gun and replace the varipuck with an AD4B. I will also do the same with this one, and this size 5 varipuck will be replaced with AD5B. So this one, and this one. And as you can see, we now have a sustained and burst DPS of 12,463. Now, the sustained DPS is only sustained until you run out of bullets, because ballistic is limited ammo. The difference is, if we reset this back to our M6As and M5As and badges, is that they have a burst DPS of 4,320 with a sustained DPS of 2,835 because they can reload or restore the ammo in the lasers. Next up, we have the shields, power plants, coolers, and quantum drives. So shields are fairly important to change. I personally have a preference of the FR series that you can buy in Orison. Now, all of these components, if you click on this lighter grey display info side of things, it will turn blue, and then that component will change down here, and it will show you the information about that component as well as where it can be bought from and how much. That is one of the great things about this. What you can then do is, let's say we want to change this to an FR86, which is what I would normally do. I can come down here and see that it's bought at Cousin Pros in Orison and Dumpers Depot at Area 18. If we then go back over here and change all of these to our AD5Bs, That one's now highlighted. We can see that that is also bought at Area 18, but at Centre Mass or Orison in the showroom. So both the shields and the AD5Bs can be bought at the same city on the same planet, but at different stores. Let's keep going and finish our weapons back to the AD5Bs and 4Bs. Our remote turrets to the GT215. So as you can see, the manned turrets and the remote turrets are also locked, so they can't be changed. We can then have a look at the Scorpion GT215 is available at Cousin Crow's in Orison and Centre Mass at Area 18, plus a couple of others. So we are still able to buy everything at either Orison or Area 18. Let's have a look at our power plant. Me personally, I like to go with the JS400s. Now these are a military A grade. They don't have the most amount of power. The industrial A grade has the most amount of power. However, for the power plants, it's got a 10-second power request time as opposed to a 16-second. And that's the only difference between, or other than the power that's provided. But I find that the JS400 provides enough power for any ship that I've used for a size 2 power plant. So we'll select that. And that is once again available at Cousin Crow's and Dumper's Depot, Orison and Area 18. We still have Orison and Area 18 as our places to get everything that we need for the Corsair at the moment. Let's add the other JS400 here. If we have a look at coolers, once again, for the coolers, there is no difference other than the power request time and the cooling rate. So the higher the rate, the lower the request time. For this, I will just pick the highest cooling rate option, which is the Industrial A grade snowpack. So we'll add 2 of those in there. And now we can see that the snowpack is available at Dumper's Depot in Area 18 or Omega Pro New Babbage, which now means that we can't get this is where the purpose of the ship that you're outfitting comes into play. What is the purpose of this ship? Do you want it to go further but take longer? Or do you want it to get there quickly and have a shorter maximum range? Personally, I do have my favorites. I have, for the size 2s, my favorite is the XL1. And once again, that is a military A grade component. So let's add the XL1 into there. Now the XL1 is available at Cousin Crow's and Platinum Bay in Port Tresla, but it's not available at Area 18. So we can either get everything but one thing at Area 18 or everything but one thing at Orison. Personally, I would go to Area 18 because it takes forever to get out of Atmo in Orison. Okay, so the way that I would probably do this is I would go to Platinum Bay in Port Tresla, which is in space, so you don't have to worry about Atmo for that. And I would click on that item to add it to the cart. So this is going to give me a bit of a shopping list. Then what I can do is go through each of my other components. The snowpacks I'm going to get from Area 18. The JS400s from Area 18. The FR86 from Dumper's Depot. We're going to get the GT215s, and we need 2, 4, 6 because there are 2 per turret. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click on Centre Mass once, and then when we get to the cart, we should be able to change the quantity. 84Bs, we need 2 of those. So we go click on Area 18. 85Bs, we click on Area 18. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is the missiles. So by default, the missiles on this one are a size 4 missile rack with size 3 missiles by default. You can change the rack size. So the naming convention of the racks describe what their uses are. So for example, this MSD 423, it is a size 4 rack, as you can see from here. It has 2 ports, which means it holds 2 missiles, and the port size is 3, so it can hold 2 size 3 missiles. So it's a size 4 rack that can hold 2 size 3 missiles. Or we could hold 8 size 1 missiles, or 1 size 4 missile. So depending on what you want to achieve, whether you want to have lots of little missiles, or a couple of great big ones, or somewhere in between, you can pick a different sized run to suit your needs. So me personally, I think I like the 2 size 3s. And if we have a look at the different types, we've got our infrareds, our electromagnetic, and our cross-section. There's not a great deal of differences between them. Their damage is relatively the same, except for the cross-section. I believe the cross-section has a higher splash damage when it hits. So that's something to take into account. Even though it's doing less damage initially, it can spread further. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So between the other ones, they're all fairly equal as far as damage. The other options are your minimum range to lock. So the infrared ones you can lock at 1.1 kilometers, whereas everything else is 1.25 kilometers. However, on the flip side, you need to be closer for the infrared ones at 8.7 kilometers to get an initial lock, and the electromagnetic ones, you can be 13.5 kilometers out to get a lock on. So you can lock on further out with the electromagnetics, but you also have to be further away at close range. So I'm not going to change these for now. There's a lot of personal preference as to what type of function that you want, whether you want it to do big damage now or spread damage or a combination of everything. You can swap. You can have different sized racks with different type of missiles in them across the thing. So long as everything in the one rack is the same, that's all that matters. So here we could have a 423. Here we could have a 481. Here we could have a 414, and here we could go a 442. So we could then now go and say, okay, well, let's go get some electromagnetics in this one, some infrareds in this one, some cross sections in this one, and we've got more cross sections in that one. So you can chop and change and do whatever you want with those. Rolling up further, we've got EMPs and QEDs. So we don't have anything to do with that. So now that we've done all that and we've added everything that we want to purchase to our cart, we can go into our cart and change everything. So we want 2 of those. Our GTs, we wanted 6 of those. 84Bs was 2, 5Bs was 4, and our XL1s was 1. So to outfit this, not including the missiles, for the components that I would pick personally, I'm going to need 865,000 coin to get those and go to 2 separate planets. So I'll need to go over to Microtech to Port Tresla and Area 18. But Area 18, I only need to visit 2 places, Center Mass and Dumpers Depot, and they are very close to each other. The other thing you can do with Urkel Games is you can save the ship. You can save it, you can share it, or you could reset it. So if we save it, we can save it into our hangar, and we can call this one Corsair Ballistic. Okay. If we have a look, I've got 11 ships already saved in my hangar where I have done various different loadouts depending on what I wanted to do. You can also have 4 live slots. So when you log in, you can have 4 ships with their loadouts ready to go to show. And if you select a slot and then go into your hangar and pick a different ship from your hangar, it will replace that slot with that ship that you've selected from your hangar. You can also make a donation to the developers of this website if you like. You can have a look at all of the various components and data that are available as a holistic overview, as opposed to a ship-specific layout. Generally, I don't use those for myself because the main purpose I want to do is I have a ship and I want to get a loadout for it. So I come in here, select my ship, and put everything in that I want to do, find out where I have to go and buy it from, do the most efficient purchasing and how much I need, and go and get it. So that is Urkel Games. It's an amazing tool to preload or to have a look at and work out exactly how you want to load out your ship. And it limits the things that you can put into it based on what ship you have and what size the component is that it holds. So the third site that I'd like to show you is called SC Trade Tools. Now this is a great website to help you with trade routes and finding out where to sell goods and for how much, and who will purchase the goods and who will pay the most for them, where you can buy stuff the cheapest, doing an A to B route or an A to B to C to A, and it will also show you mining locations and different areas that you can find different resources, as well as the salvage side of things, where you can find random bits of salvage and where you're most likely to find random bits of salvage. Specific ships that you can find just floating around that you can suck up as wreckage, as well as just... So the first section of trading is our trade routes. So what this is good for is you can pick your ship, pick a budget, and whether you want pure profit, so if you want a one-time deal where you want to get the most amount of money right now, or if you're going to be doing a bunch of return trips and things like that, you can set up a profit over time system where it will give you the most profit based on the travel time that you are spending. You can also filter this by commodity, location, and also these miscellaneous types of settings that we have here. So you can either allow wait times or not. So let's say, for example, a Shuvin mining facility that sells gold. It exhausts that gold fairly quickly. Everybody grabs it. So you can either sit there and wait for the wait timer so that you can see that, okay, well, let's go and buy gold from there, and we will allow that wait time. Or if you want to only get enough goods that will fill your budget or fill your ship without having to wait for stock to replenish, then you can turn that off. Okay. If you are doing a circular route, you want to be doing profit over time because you're just going to be going around in a circle, buying and selling as you go. Minimum inventory capacity, we'll leave that at 0 because that will give you more options displayed. If you had a C2, for example, as the ship that you're going to use, we know that it has 696 SCU of capacity, so we can set this at 696 SCU so that we know that it's only going to give us locations that hold enough to fill the C2. Even if our budget, if we set that back to 2000, if that's not enough to fill the C2, we will still see the locations that will have enough stock to fill the C2 if we had the money. We can also then filter it by commodity types and actual commodities themselves. We can either do it as an exclusive or an inclusive selection. So for example, if we want to avoid anything that is gas, we can avoid gas. If we want to only select Quantanium, we can only select Quantanium. But generally what you want to do is if you want to find the best possible option, you don't set any options here. Doesn't matter if you've got avoid or only selected. If nothing is selected, it'll show everything. Where things get a little bit different is if you were to be using a hull C, for example. Now the hull C is limited as to where you can purchase things from, and it has to be somewhere where you can dock. you can't land the hull C on a planet because you need to have the spindles expanded in order for you to load them. And you can't land with the spindles loaded. So you have to dock. So what we can do for the hull C is we can go into our locations and we can avoid or only select. We'll do only select, it's a little bit easy. Cities, which are your New Babbage, your Orison, and your Area 18. So we can pick the cities and we can pick our space stations. So we're going to only select those types of locations, but we don't need to specify every location that we want. We can also avoid hidden locations. So these are ones that aren't on the star map. Then all we need to do is hit submit. And what this will do is it'll sort it by the most profit over time, if that's what we have selected, or the most pure profit, if that's what we have selected as well, based on the conditions that we have provided. So this is telling us that we can buy on our hull C within $2 million budget, 4,500 SCU of distilled spirits for just under 2 million. And we will make about 500,000, almost 600,000 off of that one trip. That is going from Terra Gateway to Mikkel 5. If we were to go and pick a best circular route, there is nothing that it is going to give us as a circular route from Mikkel 5 or between Mikkel 5 and Terra Gateway, because we only have a maximum stops of 2, which is A and B. If we increase that to 3 and add a third site in there and check that out, we still don't have one. If we were to increase our value or our budget investment to 20,000 and add that in, now we've got Pyro Gateway to Orison for Hephaestonite. And this is going to give us a profit of nearly $2 million per run. We only need 10.5 million to completely fill our hull C. And it's going to make us approximately 110,000 UEC per minute of travel time between Pyro and Orison. Now, if we go back to our minimum 2 stops and have a look at a circular route of that, it's now going to tell us that we can then buy scrap from Orison and make a profit of $200,000 by selling that at Pyro. We can increase the amount of stops if we want to make a massive round trip. So we've got 5 stops that we want to do and have a look at our circular route for that. That's still telling us that we can only do 2 stops. Once we go from Pyro to Orison, there's nothing better to spend our time on than going Pyro to Orison with Hephaestonite and back with scrap. If we were to add anything else in there, we're not going to be earning as much UEC per minute or profit over time. The next thing that we can look at in the trading section is best buyer. So let's say you've gone and done a bit of mining, you found some gold, you've taken it to a refinery and you've refined it, and now you've got 20 SCU of gold that you want to sell. You want to get the most money for that. So all you have to do is come in here and select the commodity that you want to sell, enter in the amount that you want to sell, and submit it. It's going to tell us that Area 18 is going to purchase that for 150,000 UEC. The other option we have is if we have done some pirating and we've stolen some cargo. If we then go and tick stolen cargo and hit submit, it's going to tell us that we can either sell it at Grim Hex or at Samson's and Sons Salvage Center at Walla. Grim Hex is going to pay more for it. You can also set location filters as well if you want to stick to a certain area. Generally, you want to get the best money you can. The next thing you've got in trading is en route. So let's say, for argument's sake, you've just logged in, you're at New Babbage, you're heading to Seraphim Station to meet up with some friends, and you are going to go in your C1 Spirit. You've got 20 million that you can spend if you wanted to, and we are going direct All right, allowable detour of 25%, and we'll submit that. So what this is saying is within that allowable detour, because we can't buy anything at New Babbage that we can sell at Seraphim, we can go to the Shuva mining facility and pick up 64 SU of Astantine that we can then sell at Seraphim Station for 12,000 UEC. It's not a lot, but we can make that 12,000 with a 6-minute detour. So from New Babbage to Shuva mining facility is going to take us 6 minutes, and then it'll take us 8 minutes to get over to Seraphim Station. That is obviously depending on what quantum drive you have in the C1. This is probably based off of stock standard components. We can then, use the same sort of filters that we've had before, but we won't go into that. This is just an opportunistic way of making a little bit of extra money while you're traveling from one location to the other. Lastly, in the trading section is our commodities and shops section. And that just is basically a list of the commodities that you can search for, and who it is sold by and who it is bought from. And the shops, you can go and find the shops. So if we go to Yellow Core Station, and what they sell and what they buy, and how much for. Next, we have our mining section. And in here, we can select what method of mining we're doing, whether it's by handheld tool, ground vehicle, or spaceship. When we select that option, we can then not use any of the filters and just submit this. And what this is going to tell us is it's going to give us a breakdown of what we can collect and where. And how much of it there is going to be, how abundant it is. Now, Daymar is going to be the most abundant place for mining. Okay, so let's say we want to mine a specific type of ore. So let's go only select gold and hit submit. That's going to still tell us that Daymar is the best place to find gold. Let's try Quantanium. We'll deselect the gold and try Quantanium. Resubmit that. And now Walla is going to be the best place to find Quantanium. Now this is based on being in a spaceship. If we change that to ground vehicle and hit submit, we can't get Quantanium. Now that is because ground vehicles and hand tools can only get the 3 types of ore, which is aphrite, dolomite, and hadonite. So if we go and have a look at aphrite with the ground vehicle, it's going to say Hurston Other is our best place to find aphrite. The other options in the mining section is similar to the training. It has the ores and the deposits. And it basically just gives you a list of where it can be found, how hard it is to get. So let's go spaceship. So in a spaceship, we can mine all of these things, how abundant it is, how challenging it is. So Quantanium is the most challenging, specifically that it is a volatile component. It's got a massive overcharge rate and it's got a pretty high resistance. Whereas something like titanium, which is not too abundant, it has a very low challenging rate. It has a high subchunk purity. So as you break down the rock that has the titanium in it, a lot of that rock, that sub-rock, the majority of that will be titanium and not the innate materials. You can then also look at the deposits, so a specific type of deposit, and there are a ton of different deposits that you can have. So if we go and have a look at an atacamite deposit, that gives us a breakdown of what this atacamite deposit might have in it. Top locations that you would find this particular type and the typical cluster size. And lastly, we have the salvage section. And really all this is telling us is what type of scrap can we find and where. Can we find a specific ship? And there's only a couple of them that we can find. And where can we find it? Or generally just these scrap pieces. So if we want to see where the 890 jumps are, for example, it's going to tell us that it's in these locations here. And roughly how abundant or what the opportunistic index is, I'm pretty sure that's basically the abundance of it, or how frequent you may actually come across that, what the chances are of finding that. And that concludes SC Trade Tools. Two more websites I'd like to show you. These ones are fairly quick ones. The first one is the Citizen Tool. Now, I use this because I can never remember where I can buy the ships from in-game. So if I wanted to go and purchase a Crusader ship, I know that I'm going to get that from Crusader at the Crusader showroom or not. However, if I wanted to buy something like a rook, I could just do a Control F on this page, search for a rock, and it's going to tell me that I can purchase it from the last one here, which is Lorville. A new deal in Lorville. So we've got Astro Armada in Area 18, the Crusader showroom in Orison, and new deal in Lorville. There is nothing in New Babbage for buying ships. Why? I don't know. They don't want to sell ships, man. So here you can find some ships can be bought at multiple places. So the C2 can be bought at both Area 18 and Orison, whereas generally most things can only be bought in one place. It also shows us how much we're going to pay for it. This is going to change in 3.23. They are going to rise significantly. So if you want to buy a ship and you've got the money, buy it now. Okay, so the last site that I'd like to show you is finder.seastone.space. This is a great site to find those missing pieces of an armor set and where you can buy them from if you found a random piece in a bunker, for example. So let's say, for argument's sake, you've gone down into a bunker and you found a Defiance Tactical. Okay, you've picked up a Defiance Core Tactical item from a bunker. We can then see we've got the Defiance arms, legs, and helmet, and go and click on, say, the helmet, for example. And it's going to show us the locations that we can purchase that from and for how much. So we can travel out to the jump points and pay a little bit less, or grab something a little bit more locally and pay a little bit more. It also gives us a bit of a description and shows us that armor piece. We've also got similar items to this Defiance piece. You may or may not be able to tell in the stream, but some of these are white and some are grey. The grey items cannot be purchased in-game. They are only available outside of the game or by finding them in the game. Other things you can use this site for is just generally browsing for torsos. So if you want, you can go and filter it by heavy armor. So if we want to only find heavy armor, we can also toggle items that are not sold in game, so only ones that can be purchased. And we can see we've got quite a few pages of heavy armor. We can then also sort as well as filter by the capacity. So Morozov is going to hold more than anything else. It also shows us the damage reduction, what minimum and maximum temperature range that these will protect you from. You can also then go and search for ship weaponry, ship components, mining, refueling options, salvage options, towing and tractor beam ships, and also containers, flare items and souvenirs, and miscellaneous items. You can also just pick a location and see what can be sold from that location as well. So let's say we go to, scroll down randomly. All right, so we've got Bajini Point Cargo Center, Cargo Services, Renters, Travelers, Renters. If we go to that location, we can rent an Avenger Titan, Freelancer, or a Drake Cutlass Black. We can't purchase them, but we can rent them. See, there's a rental spot. So that is my go-to site for finding. Basically, I mainly use it for finding the missing pieces of my sets of a nice set that I found out in the world. So whether it's a specific color or a specific style, you can see whether it can be purchased in-game and where from. So that concludes my little video tutorial and guide on external websites that I like to use that I am in no way affiliated with. These are literally sites that I use, and most of them I use quite frequently, especially the ones for loadouts and the Hangar link. I love that thing. I'm always searching for items to see whether I've got them already or not, to know whether I'm buying a double up or not. A quick shout out to everybody. I'd just like to thank you for tuning in and watching. Thank you to all of my subscribers. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Costs you nothing. It's just a little click of a button. And if you liked this video, please hit that like button as well. And throw a comment down if you've got any questions or corrections if I've made any mistakes. As well as if there's any websites that you use, feel free to share those around as well. Shout out to my Patreon subscriber. I'm not saying subscribers yet because I only have one. Hopefully soon I will be able to pluralize that, and I will give a shout out once you have subscribed on Patreon as a shout out subscriber. I've got the 2 tiers over there. There is the general supporter as well as a shout out subscriber. They're only $5 and $10 per month. You also get access to a special Patreon section in my Discord, where I'm usually going to be if I'm doing an in-game video where people can come and join me. Or if I'm just generally playing, I may be in the public lobby there where anybody is welcome to come and join me. I have a bunch of news sections where bots are pulling in news from Game Glass and Star Citizen, so that anything that is posted on Spectrum by a dev gets tracked. Anything that is changed in the store gets tracked. New items added to the store, items removed from the store. Same with the CCU upgrades, as well as things like Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live. I also have sections on there for feedback and requests. If you wanted to request a specific type of video or style of video, or you want to see me do a tutorial on something that I haven't yet done, please feel free to jump on there and throw those in. If you've got any feedback you'd like to give me on my videos, you can also do that there as well. If you want to share your in-game screenshots, any in-game footage that you like to, you can also throw those in there and share them around. I am really wanting to try and build a bit of a community here, so please jump on if you feel like you'd like to be a part of that community. As mentioned before, I also have that Patreon if you really feel like you'd love to support my channel even further to help me provide more content and more videos for you. Feel free to jump over to Patreon and subscribe over there as well. That's all for today. Until next time, Thunder out.